All right, so welcome back for another deep dive.
Oh, yeah. Always a pleasure.
And looks like we got a
Oh, yeah.
pretty wild weekend of weather coming up,
Uh-huh.
especially for those of you down south.
Yeah, down south, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, yeah. We're diving into a whole bunch of news articles,
Oh, wow.
local, national,
Okay.
about this severe weather threat that's developing for the holidays.
Oh, no kidding.
And on top of all of that, kind of a bright spot.
Oh, really?
We've got a Mega Millions winner,
Well, that's nice.
so kind of mixed bag
Yeah, for sure.
this weekend. Ready to get up to speed?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, cool.
Let's break it down.
Okay.
Sounds like an interesting mix of weather
Yeah.
and maybe a little bit of luck for somebody.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
So first up, we've got WVTM 13 Birmingham,
Okay.
WDSU New Orleans,
Uh-huh.
CNN.
A big one?
Yeah,
Okay.
all of them sounding the alarm about this severe weather that's brewing in the South. We're talking potential tornadoes.
Oh, wow.
Damaging winds,
The
hail,
whole shebang.
the whole 9 yards, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And this is all happening during like the busiest travel weekend of the year.
Yeah, the timing couldn't be worse, could it?
I know.
For holiday travelers.
That's, yeah.
What's really striking to me, though, is this is really unusual for late December.
Right.
We don't usually see this level of severe weather threat outside of, the peak tornado season.
Yeah, it's really not typical. And the Storm Prediction Center, they are not messing around.
Oh, no.
They've issued a level 4
Wow.
out of 5 severe weather risk.
That's a big deal.
That's a big deal, yeah.
They don't mess around when they put out a level 4.
Nope.
Especially in December.
Yeah, and this is for
Wow.
Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama for Saturday.
So level 4 risk from the Storm Prediction Center, that's rare even in peak season.
Yeah.
Let alone in December.
Yeah.
What is going on that's causing this?
Yeah. What are the factors at play here? So it seems like what we've got is this potent storm system
Oh.
moving across the country.
Uh-huh.
And it's expected to interact with this very warm
Okay.
and humid air over the Gulf of Mexico.
Okay.
And that combination
I see.
is a recipe for powerful thunderstorms,
Wow.
capable of producing tornadoes.
Okay, so like a perfect storm.
Yeah, literally.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that this is happening in December, when
yeah.
we usually see much cooler and more stable air masses,
Yeah.
makes it even more unusual.
Yeah. Very strange.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got this volatile weather system brewing.
Okay.
What kind of timeline are we looking at?
Well,
When should people be on high alert?
So the forecast models are suggesting that the storms will start intensifying throughout Saturday
Mm-hmm.
and continue into Sunday, shifting eastward across the south.
Oh, wow.
So we're looking at like a multi-day
Yeah.
event here
Okay.
that's going to impact a large part of the country.
Yeah, CNN has a whole list of cities
Oh, really?
that could be affected. And it is a big list.
Okay.
Houston, Memphis, Nashville, Atlanta, New Orleans, Birmingham, Charlotte, Raleigh.
So basically, if you're below the Mason-Dixon line, you need to be paying attention.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and even if you're not directly in the path of like the most intense storms,
Uh-huh.
the ripple effects can be really significant.
Yeah, of course.
Travel delays, power outages,
Mhm.
supply chain disruptions,
Oh, yeah, all that stuff.
all of that can impact communities far beyond
Absolutely.
just the immediate storm zone.
Yeah. Okay.
Speaking of unusual events,
Yeah.
this brings to mind this recent lottery win.
Oh, right. Right.
It's kind of a juxtaposition, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
While the South is preparing for this potentially devastating storm,
Uh-huh.
you've got one lucky person in California
Oh, wow. Yeah.
waking up a billionaire.
Okay.
It really makes you think about the unpredictable nature of life, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
While meteorologists are tracking these big storms,
Uh-huh.
somebody in California just defied astronomical odds to win
know.
the $1.22 billion.
Yeah, Mega Millions jackpot.
Wow. Okay.
WVTM 13 noted that this is the first jackpot win in over 100 days.
Oh, wow. So a long time coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then CNN threw in this little fun fact.
What's that?
The odds of winning that jackpot
Uh-huh.
are 1 in 302,575,350.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Talk about beating the odds.
I know, right?
It's amazing how we try to make sense of these random events.
Yeah.
Whether it's winning the lottery or a rare December tornado.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got this unusual weather threat unfolding in the South.
Right.
Let's maybe zero in on the tornado threat a little bit.
Okay, good idea.
What are the experts saying about the possibility of tornadoes with this event?
Well, CNN is reporting that we've already had 1787 tornado reports in 2024,
Wow.
which actually exceeds the annual average
So we're already above average.
of 1347.
Wow, okay.
So we're already in a year with above average tornado activity.
Wow, okay.
And on top of that,
Yeah.
the Storm Prediction Center
Okay.
is specifically warning about the possibility of strong, long-track tornadoes on Saturday.
Oh, boy.
They're talking EF3 or higher intensity.
Wow.
So can you remind us what that means?
Oh, yeah, the enhanced Fujita scale,
Right.
or
yeah.
EF scale.
Uh-huh.
That's how we measure the intensity of tornadoes,
Right.
based on the damage that they cause.
Right.
An EF3 tornado can pack winds of 136 to 165 miles per hour.
That's a lot.
We're talking about serious damage here.
Oh, yeah.
Roofs ripped off of houses,
Yeah.
cars tossed around,
Oh.
trees uprooted.
That's pretty frightening.
Yeah, it is.
You know, it's a good reminder to take these warnings seriously
Absolutely.
and have a plan
Yeah,
in place.
especially if you're in one of those areas at risk.
Yeah, absolutely.
Preparedness is
Yeah.
key.
Yeah.
We can talk about safety tips and resources in a bit.
Good idea.
But for now, let's maybe shift gears and talk about another weather story that's making headlines.
Yeah, while the South braces for these storms the West Coast is facing,
Yeah.
a different kind of weather challenge.
Okay, what's that?
Atmospheric rivers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Those are those narrow bands of
Yeah.
concentrated moisture in the atmosphere.
Uh-huh.
They can transport so much water vapor from the tropics towards the poles.
Yeah. And when they make landfall,
Uh-huh.
they can just dump crazy amounts of rain and snow.
Yeah, it's a lot of precipitation.
Yeah, CNN had some crazy images
Really?
of waves up to 30 feet high,
Wow.
pounding the Pacific Northwest
Wow.
and Bay Area coastlines.
Yeah, that's a testament to the power of
Yeah.
those atmospheric rivers.
Yeah,
They can bring some much-needed rain
right.
to drought-stricken areas,
Yeah,
but they can also cause a lot of flooding,
yeah.
mudslides, coastal erosion.
Yeah, the damage can be significant.
Absolute.
So it's a double whammy of weather woes on both sides of the country.
Yeah, East Coast, West Coast,
You got it. We got it all going on.
severe storms in the south.
Right.
Atmospheric rivers slamming the West Coast.
Okay.
And both of these events are happening during peak travel time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a recipe for disruption,
Yeah.
to say the least.
Absolutely.
It really highlights the importance of staying informed,
Right.
checking those forecasts, and just being prepared
Yeah. You never know what to expect.
for the unexpected.
Exactly.
Yeah. So welcome back.
All right. So as we dig a little deeper into these unusual weather events, one thing that keeps coming up
Yeah.
is this potential link to climate change.
Yeah, you're right.
It's hard to ignore the possibility,
Uh-huh.
especially given, the timing of these storms
Right?
and the fact that we seem to be seeing these extreme weather events
Yeah.
more and more often.
Globally, right?
Yeah,
It's one thing to read about, rising global temperatures
Right.
and melting glaciers.
Right. But it's another thing entirely to actually experience firsthand,
Yeah.
a December tornado outbreak
Right.
or the kind of flooding we're seeing
Right.
from these atmospheric rivers.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what makes these deep dives so interesting.
Oh, yeah.
We're not just summarizing news articles.
Right.
We're trying to really connect the dots,
Yeah.
explore the underlying causes,
Uh-huh.
try to make sense of this really complex world.
Absolutely. We're taking a more holistic view, I think.
Yeah.
Considering the scientific evidence, the human impact,
Uh-huh.
the broader implications for the planet.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's talk about climate change.
Okay.
I know it's a big topic,
Yeah, it's a complex one.
but can you give us kind of a quick rundown of
Okay.
how it might be contributing to these extreme weather events?
Yeah, so in a nutshell,
Okay.
climate change refers to the long-term changes in global temperatures
Okay.
and weather patterns. These changes are primarily driven by the increase
Okay.
in greenhouse gases in the atmosphere,
Okay.
and that's largely due to human activities.
Okay, like driving cars,
Exactly.
powering factories,
Yeah, all that stuff.
burning fossil fuels.
Okay.
So as these greenhouse gases build up in the atmosphere,
Uh-huh.
they essentially trap heat,
Okay.
causing the planet's temperature to rise.
So the more of these gases,
Uh-huh.
the warmer it gets.
Yeah, that's the basic idea.
Okay.
And that warming effect has all sorts of consequences,
Okay.
including changes in ocean currents,
Uh-huh.
melting glaciers,
Right.
and shifts in weather patterns.
And those shifts in weather patterns are what we're seeing,
Exactly.
playing out in real time
Right.
with these severe storm
Uh-huh.
atmospheric rivers.
Yeah. The warming atmosphere holds more moisture,
Okay.
which leads to more intense rainfall events.
So those atmospheric rivers that we talked about
Yeah.
slamming the West Coast.
They're basically massive rivers of moisture.
That's a good way to put it.
And as the climate warms,
Uh-huh.
they become even more potent.
Yeah, more moisture, more potential for intense downpours.
So it's like turning up the volume on the water cycle.
Yeah, I like that analogy.
More evaporation,
Right.
more moisture in the air,
Uh-huh.
and then more intense downpours
Exactly.
when it all comes crashing down.
And then on top of that, you've got the impact on storm systems like the ones producing these tornadoes in the south.
Uh-huh.
Warmer temperatures create more instability in the atmosphere.
Okay.
So you're essentially providing more fuel
Right.
for these powerful storms to develop.
So it's not just that we're seeing more extreme weather.
Right.
The weather itself is becoming more extreme.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
The intensity, the frequency, the duration of these events,
Right.
they're all increasing.
Yeah. It's kind of scary.
It is. It's pushing the limits of what we used to consider
Right.
normal weather patterns.
It's both fascinating and alarming
Yeah.
to see how these changes are happening
Yeah.
right in front of us.
In real time, yeah.
Do you think this December tornado outbreak could be a sign of things to come?
It's certainly possible.
Yeah.
It's hard to attribute any single weather event
Right.
directly to climate change,
Uh,
but the overall trend is pretty clear.
okay.
As the planet warms, we can expect to see
Yeah.
more extreme weather,
Okay.
more intense tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, droughts.
So it's not a matter of if.
Right.
It's a matter of when.
I think that's a safe bet.
That's a sobering thought.
It is. It is.
And it makes me wonder,
yeah.
what can we do about it?
That's the big question.
I know, right?
It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the scale of the problem.
Yeah, like, what can I do?
Right, like my individual actions don't really matter.
Right, exactly.
It's understandable to feel that way.
Yeah.
But it's really important to remember that collective action is what drives change.
Okay.
And there's actually a lot we can do,
Okay.
both individually
Uh-huh.
and collectively,
Okay.
to mitigate the impacts of climate change
Huh?
and adapt to a changing world.
So, like what?
Okay, so on an individual level,
Uh-huh.
we can make more sustainable choices
Okay.
in our daily lives.
Okay, give me an example.
Sure, things like reducing our energy consumption,
Okay.
choosing public transportation or biking instead of driving,
Okay.
eating less meat,
Uh-huh.
supporting businesses that prioritize sustainability.
Okay.
These seemingly small actions can actually add up.
Right, so it's about changing our habits.
Yeah.
Making more conscious choices,
Uh-huh.
voting with our wallets.
Exactly. And then there's the collective action piece,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is, working together to advocate for policy changes,
Okay.
supporting organizations working on climate solutions,
Mm-hmm.
holding our leaders accountable
Okay.
for taking action on a larger scale.
So it's about recognizing that we're not in this alone.
Exactly.
We need to work together
Right.
to create the change we want to see.
Absolutely. And I think that's where the real power lies.
Okay.
When people come together,
Uh-huh.
raise their voices, and
Yeah.
demand action,
Yeah.
that's when we start to see real progress.
So it's about shifting from a sense of powerlessness
Yeah.
to a sense of agency.
Exactly. Recognizing that we actually have the power
Okay.
to shape the future,
Yeah,
even in the face of these really big challenges.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's a message of hope.
Hope is essential.
Yeah.
It fuels our action,
Uh-huh.
our innovation,
Yeah.
our resilience.
Okay, so we've talked about the connection between these extreme weather events and climate change.
Right.
And we've touched on some potential solutions.
Yeah.
But let's circle back to the here and now.
Okay.
What can people do to stay safe during these severe weather events?
Yeah. That's a great question.
We've talked about preparedness, but what are some specific tips for dealing with tornadoes?
Okay. So with tornadoes, the most important thing is to know where to seek shelter.
Oh?
If you have a basement,
Yeah.
that's the safest place to be.
Okay.
If not, find an interior room on the lowest level of your home,
Okay.
away from windows.
Got it.
Get under some heavy furniture if possible,
Right.
and cover your head and neck with your hands and arms.
Okay, what if you're caught outside during a tornado?
If you're outside, seek shelter in a sturdy building right away.
Okay.
If you're in a car, do not try to outrun a tornado.
Right.
Abandon your vehicle and seek shelter in a low-lying area,
Yep.
like a ditch or a culvert.
Okay, that makes sense. What about flooding?
All right, so with flooding,
Uh-huh.
never attempt to drive through flooded roads.
Okay.
You never know how deep the water is,
Right.
and you could easily get swept away.
Yeah, that's really dangerous.
It is. It's also important to know the potential flood zones
Right.
in your area and have an evacuation plan in place.
Okay, and what about power outages?
Power outages can be a big problem.
Yeah, especially during a storm.
Especially during a storm, yeah.
Yeah.
Have a supply kit ready
Okay.
with flashlights, batteries, a first aid kit,
Uh-huh.
enough food and water to last for a few days.
Okay.
And be really careful when using candles or generators.
Right, fire hazard.
Exactly, fire hazard.
Yeah.
So safety first.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
In terms of safety tips
Mhm.
and preparedness.
Yeah, it's all about being ready.
But before we move on, I want to touch on the mental and emotional toll
Yeah,
that these severe weather events can take.
absolutely.
You know, it's not just about physical safety.
Right.
It's also about mental well-being.
It's a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
Experiencing a severe weather event can be really stressful
Great.
and even traumatic.
Yeah.
So taking care of your mental health
Oh.
during and after a storm is really important.
Do you have any advice on how to cope with the stress and anxiety?
Yeah, stay connected with loved ones.
Okay.
Seek support from friends, family, or mental health professionals. And take some time for self-care.
Okay.
Do things that help you relax and de-stress.
Yeah, those are great tips.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that we're all in this together.
Yeah.
We need to support each other
Yeah,
through these challenging times.
for sure. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground in this segment.
Yeah, we have.
We've talked about the connection between extreme weather events
Uh-huh.
and climate change,
Right.
explored potential solutions,
Yeah,
discussed safety tips and preparedness,
absolutely.
but there's still so much more to unpack.
Yeah, we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
talked about the science and the practicalities,
Yeah,
but we need to think about the broader implications of these events.
okay.
How are they shaping our understanding of risk,
Yeah.
resilience, and our place in a changing world?
Those are some big questions.
Yeah, they are.
And I think they're at the heart of what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
You know, with this deep dive.
Absolutely.
We're not just trying to inform,
Right.
we're trying to inspire reflection,
Uh-huh.
critical thinking,
Yeah.
a deeper understanding of the world around us.
I think that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
We're connecting the dots, seeing the bigger picture,
Yeah.
empowering our listeners to make informed decisions
Great.
and take meaningful action.
Okay, well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this segment,
Okay, sounds good.
but we're not done yet.
No, we've got more to explore.
So we've covered a lot of ground in our deep dive today, from the science behind these unusual weather events to the very real impacts on people's lives.
It is a lot to process.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
It can feel kind of overwhelming at times.
It can feel overwhelming for sure.
Yeah, this sense of uncertainty is something I keep coming back to. You know, we've talked about the increasing frequency and intensity
Right.
of these extreme weather events
Mm-hmm.
and the link to climate change.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, like, what does the future hold?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah, and what can we do to shape that future
Right.
in a positive way?
Those are the questions that we're all grappling with.
Yeah,
And there are no easy answers.
for sure.
But I think just engaging in these conversations
Uh,
and taking action,
yeah.
both individually and collectively, is essential.
You've mentioned individual and collective action a few times now.
Yeah,
Can you elaborate on what that looks like in the context of
sure.
climate change and these extreme weather events?
So individual action can be as simple as making more sustainable choices in your daily life.
Okay.
We talked about things like reducing energy consumption,
Right.
using public transportation,
Uh-huh.
eating less meat.
Right. All of those things.
These are all individual actions that can contribute
Correct.
to a larger solution.
Right. It's about recognizing that even small changes
Exactly.
can have a ripple effect.
Yeah, it's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's about doing what you can.
Yeah.
And then there's collective action,
Okay.
which is about working together to advocate for systemic change.
Okay.
So that could be supporting policies that promote clean energy,
Okay.
holding corporations accountable for their environmental impact,
Mhm.
or getting involved in community-level initiatives
Right.
to build resilience.
So it's about recognizing that we're not in this alone.
Exactly.
We need to work together
Yeah.
to create the change that we want to see.
And I think that's where the real power lies. When people come together,
Huh.
raise their voices, and
Mm.
demand action,
Right.
that's when we start to see real progress.
It's about shifting from a sense of powerlessness
Exactly.
to a sense of agency.
Recognizing that we have the power to shape the future,
Yeah,
even in the face of these big challenges.
I like that. It's a message of hope amidst the uncertainty.
Hope is essential.
Yeah.
It fuels our actions, our innovations, our resilience.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
what are some key takeaways for our listeners?
Well, I hope they come away with a deeper understanding of the forces at play,
Okay.
both in terms of the science
Mm-hmm.
and the broader societal and environmental implications.
Okay.
I also hope they feel empowered to take action,
Yeah.
whether that's making changes in their own lives
Uh-huh.
or joining forces with others to advocate for a more sustainable future.
And perhaps most importantly,
Yeah,
I hope they hold on to that sense of hope.
absolutely.
The challenges are real,
Yeah.
but so are the solutions.
We have the knowledge.
Uh-huh.
We have the technology.
Yeah.
We have the collective will
Okay.
to create a better future.
Yeah.
It's up to us to make it happen.
Well said. Well, I think that brings us to the end
Yeah.
of our deep dive for today.
It's been a good one.
It has been.
A lot to think about.
It has been a whirlwind of information,
Yeah.
insights, and
A lot of information.
thought-provoking discussions.
Yeah, for sure.
As always,
Yeah.
we encourage you to continue exploring these topics.
Definitely.
Stay informed,
Yeah.
engage in meaningful conversations,
Uh-huh.
and take action in ways that feel right for you.
Whatever you can do.
Yeah.
Every little bit helps.
Remember, even amidst the storms,
Yeah.
there's always hope,
Absolutely.
always resilience,
Uh-huh.
and always the possibility of a brighter future.
That's what we're working towards.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us
Thanks for having me.
on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time,
Yeah.
stay curious, stay informed,
Stay safe out there.
and stay engaged.
Absolutely.